All right, what is going on? It is Nate, and in this video, I'm going to talk about like the last couple weeks. I'm going to go over some of the trades I took, what I would change, what I do different, what I trade, the strategy I use, and just kind of cover everything, right? It's been a while since I did a trading video, and so I just kind of want to switch things up. So, first things first, last week, as in like July 14th, so like not this week that just finished, it's Friday, but the week before. It was a great week in the group, right? We were up, I think, 15% on our accounts, roughly 12, 15%. And then, based off the strategy, of course, the next week or, the following days, you're going to pull back a little bit. We pulled back a little harder than I wanted to, just to be 100% honest. But it's part of trading, right? You make money, you learn, you lose, whatever. And then over time, you just continue to refine the system so you can ultimately, be profitable and, make as much money as you really want as you continue to grow your account. 1 second, sorry. Okay, anyways, let's see here. We have, where is it? So let's talk about the strategy that I trade. So what I trade is, I trade breakouts. So I trade stocks, right? I look for stocks that have momentum. I look for them to make a big move up, and then I let them set up, and then from there I buy the breakout, right? And then I ride the momentum, and then I'll go a little bit more about how this works. So Joby is a perfect example. This stock trades very, very well, and that's why it's been a great trade, right? I'm up 100%. So I think I must have bought it on like around here somewhere. I think I bought it at 906. So I bought it when it broke out of this range right here, and then since then you can see it's pretty much went up every single day, or at least most days. So what do I look for, right? And it's not like the most obvious setups. I know a lot of people are used to like the flag, and this didn't give a perfect flag, but you can see like here, I don't have my mouse with me, so I can't draw as well. But you can see here, right? It made this move, it made this gap up, and then it went sideways on after making the move, and then from there it gapped up again, and then it went sideways, and then this area or this theme was showing a lot of strength. And so, wait, actually I'm second guessing. I think I bought it here. I can't remember. I bought it on a big news day. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. I think well, actually, I'm going to check this for you guys because I don't want to mislead you on when I bought it. So let me look. I know I've had this one for quite a while now, but I actually bought it again today. So I bought it on the 26th, which would be, wait, no, that's not right. Which would be here. Yeah, so I bought it this day. That's what I thought. So I bought it here when it broke out of this range. You could see it broke out and it had dying volume. The volume wasn't the cleanest. You could see it kind of picked up these couple days. But then from there you could see we had news overnight and it held that, and then it looked like the move was over and it kind of started to pull back, and then it just kept running and running and running. And so that's why it's so important with this strategy you never sell the whole position until it closes below the 10-day moving average, right, which is this green line. So I bought it here, and I still have a good chunk of the position because it hasn't closed under that moving average. And then, maybe on this day you're like, oh, wow, it's already made a huge move, and then you sell it all, right? Well, look what you would have missed. So it's like you never know when the top is, so you never want to time it, right? You use the moving averages because the moving averages always tell the truth. So today, I think this is interesting because I could show you today I actually bought this again. So this made a huge move up, right? 100% on the shares that I bought on this day. And then you could see it started to go sideways. It was building this range. It pulled back to the moving average here. And then it's kind of had these smaller days. And then yesterday it had a very thin day, right? You can see how the candle is very, very small. And then today it didn't close the best. It's not exactly how I prefer, but it was breaking out of this range, right? It broke this high and it was breaking out, and so I bought a little bit more. I didn't risk too much. I think I risked like 0.25%, so just a couple bucks. But it allowed me to get some more size in case it is ready. If it's not ready, it is what it is. I'm still very deep in profit on this one. And then another one that did well is SMR. I bought this one on this day, I believe, when it broke out of this range. It could have been this day. Honestly, I'm not good at these weird setups. I can't remember what days I buy it, because some days I'll buy it here and wait for it to go above the moving averages, and then some days I'll buy it when it breaks this day's high. But anyways, so I bought it on one of these days, and you can see it's made a nice move, right? It pulled up, or it made a nice move, and it was going higher, 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 right? And you can see it pulled back from there. And so I was trimming it as we were going into strength, and then here it pulled back pretty hard, right? But you could see it didn't close below this line because the closing point is up here where the candle is. So I continue to hold it, and you can see it's recovered from there, and it looks like it's setting up to break out again. Another one, sorry, I wrote my notes of which ones did well. QS, this one was huge. I also got about 100% return on these ones. So I bought it on this day. You could see it gapped up. It went from like $4 to, like six something. So it was up 50% in a day. And then it made another huge move here where it made like a 30% move in a day. And then you can see it went sideways and it pulled back to this moving average, right? And then from there, it broke out again. You can see the volume right here was dying out on these days. And then on this day right here where I bought it again, or where I bought it, it had high volume, right? So this shows that, okay, people, these institutions, these funds, these people are buying the stock. And so that helps, it's hard. If you're trading and you're not going with the money that the institutions are, where they're putting their money, it's going to be very difficult to actually make money because that's what moves the markets, right? It's not people like you and I. You have to have billions of dollars or, hundreds of millions to be really moving these stocks. So I bought it on this day, and you can see it was literally green every single day. And then it had earnings on this day. So I sold it here because I like to sell it a couple days before earnings. And then you can see after earnings, it didn't really have much of a reaction, but it's actually definitely setting up to make another move. Let's see what else. I had Robinhood or Hood. I bought Robin, right? So it moves a little bit quicker. I bought this one on this day here. You can see it was it's been moving higher since, well, I don't even know, for forever. And you can see it's just been riding this trend, and then it made this move and it tightened up against the moving average. And then here you can see it put in a pretty thin day right against the moving averages. And then this day it broke those highs, right? So I bought it on this day. It didn't do too much, and then it made this nice run. And then from here it fell pretty hard. And so I got stopped out on this candle for profit, right? So I still made a few $100 on this, but it wasn't too crazy. Let's see what else. I had OUST. This one made a nice move. I had really good size on this one, and so I bought it on this day, and it made a nice move, but I didn't make too much profit because it stopped me out here. It came down and it stopped me out, like barely, and so I didn't secure too much profit, which is unfortunate, but stuff like that happens. Not too much you could do. I mean, I could have trimmed it a little bit heavier on these days, but really it's like you don't expect a stock to gap down and then fall, harder, because you can see there's a gap between these candles. So literally overnight it gapped down and then it opened up and it just fell straight down. And I was like, holy smokes, this thing is falling like a rock. So my realized profit last week, I was up 4,200 something on last Friday. And then I think my realized profit, like what I had secured, was around like 17 or 1,800. And then this week, it's been a week of literally just pullback. Like, to be straight up, a lot of things stopped out. A lot of things haven't been working. And I lowered my risk because I knew that last week was a pretty intense week. So I knew there wouldn't be too much momentum. But those little, 0.25% here, 0.25% here, those things just add up. So then I looked back and I was like, okay, yeah, going forward, when we have a huge week like this with tons of momentum, the following week I'm not going to be too aggressive. I'm just going to sit on my hands for a few days, let everything kind of recover from the move, and then be more aggressive. And so we're seeing a lot of failed breakouts today. Like, we had a lot of positions that stopped out. BBAI, I had this one actually. I bought this here a couple weeks ago. I bought it on this day and I got over 100% on shares on this one. And then so that made a nice move, and then I bought it again here, or on this day when it broke these highs, and it's not ready yet, right? So it's ranging, and now it's catching up to these moving averages. This thing is ready for another monstrous move, so it's definitely one of my top watches for next week. And so actually I'm going to add this to my list because I had it and then it stopped out today, so I'm going to add that back. So what I'm doing, right? It's pretty simple. You can see here why am I buying this, right? You can see this stock here. I also had it on this move, right? I made a good amount of money on this. So what these stocks do is they make these big moves up and then they kind of go sideways, right? They pull back and then they break out from there, and you see the momentum and you see the volume that raises up, continues to get higher and higher, and that's how you know that you're in a breakout. And so what I do is I identify, okay, this stock is strong, all right? Like from here, you can see it touched about $2.50, and then from there it moved up to what is this, 353, which is about 60%, right? So it made a 60% move, pulled back, then it made another move, and then it went sideways from there, right? So it's been ranging for a while. I tried it a couple times here, and then this day the volume was really weird, right? Normally I want the volume to die out, but you could see the volume was increasing during this time, right? When the stock was thinning out, the volume was going up, which isn't normal. You don't want that. So I bought it here. I don't think I risked too much. I think I risked 0.25%. But I still had a good amount of size in it, and then it made a over 100% move, or pretty close to it. I don't remember exactly. And then I trimmed it into strength, trimmed some here, trimmed some here, trimmed some here. I trimmed this one a lot, and then once it closed below the moving average, I sold the whole position. So that's what the strategy, right? So that's what I do is I look for these stocks that have a lot of momentum, and then based off that, I'll wait for them to set up. I let them prove themselves, and then from there, I'll buy them, right? So for example, here I'll give you guys some that I'm watching for next week. AMPX, this one is huge. This is electronics. I think it has something to do with like batteries or drones, stuff like that, which is really, really hot right now. And so what I'm looking for here, you can see it made a huge move up, right? It went up about 100% in just 20 days, right? So not much time, and it went up 100% about a month. So this thing's really strong. And then you can see here now it's forming this flag, right? Right on the moving averages, it's tightening up. It's giving these thin days. You can see the volume is dying out very nicely. And so this is a very top, or not a very top watch, that doesn't make sense, but this is a top watch for next week for sure. And then ZEP, this one's a little funkier. You can see it's really strong. Like this thing just literally went straight up, and then it pulled back. And this one looks like it's just dying out. I honestly don't know if I'll end up taking this one. SLI, this one, not a super clean setup, but it looks like it could be breaking out soon. ASTS, this one was a little misleading. It was setting up really nicely here, and then it gapped down overnight, so not a huge fan. D-Pro, I bought this one today, and it stopped me out, right? So unfortunate, it's just part of the game, right? You're going to have times where you stop out. It is what it is. And so I bought this one with a 0.25% risk, and it was pumping. You can see it made a move up here. It was breaking all these highs. And so I bought it, and then like pretty much right after that, I mean, you could probably see here, I'll show you guys exactly what happens. So like, the strategy, obviously you're going to have losing trades. And so it's like, if I only had winning trades, I would be extremely, extremely rich. But there's going to be a lot of times where, you stop out on stuff, and those stop outs add up. And so I know when to lower my risk, but still, even when you lower your risk, like if you're stopping out of stuff, it adds up pretty quickly. So you can see here, this was the first 5-minute candle right here, and then this next 5-minute candle is just a huge candle, and so it took out that candle's highs, and so I debated it for a little bit, and then this candle opened, and it was just going higher, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get in this. So I bought it with a 0.25%, and then you can see from there, bam, it immediately stopped out like 10 minutes later. And so stuff like that happens, right? It's like, what can you do? Nothing. That's why you have your stop losses. That's why you have your proper risk management, right? Because stuff like this isn't gonna blow up your account. Like I lost, maybe $100 on this. Like it's not a big deal at all. And that's what you have to do, is you have to understand that, like, it's a system. And so you're going to have winning trades, you're going to have losing trades. The stocks are going to go up, they're going to pull back, right? And so a lot of people, they think trading every day is going to be green, every day you're just going to make money, it's going to be super easy. I wish that's how it was, but it's not. You're going to have a lot of days where you're in drawdown. Like Qualamaggy, one of the guys I learned from, he's like, most of the time you're in drawdown, right? Most of the time you're not at the peak equity, right? At one point, I think I was up, I don't know, like 17% on my account last week. And it's like, you can't, when you see that, you can't expect to keep all that money. It just doesn't make sense, right? The stocks aren't going to go straight up and then just stay there. And you also can't sell them at the top because it's probably not the top. So it's like, you have to understand that the stock's going to make the move. You trim it into strength, right? As it's going up, you take some profits. And then as it pulls back, you let it go back to the 10-day moving average. And then a lot of times it's going to break out again, right? Like I was showing you guys Jobby. I bought this again today. It made this huge move. And then it pulled back to the moving averages, right? And then it tightened up. And then today it wasn't the best volume. That's why I didn't put a ton of size. I only did a 0.25%. I'm waiting for it to break like $18, $19, $18.50-ish, or what, like around those highs, like $18.50, for it to, really break out and to really add some more size to it. Because I think from here it could start to go parabolic, and then that's when you just get some crazy moves. And so that's kind of just a recap of the last week. So it was a really good week. This week was a lot of drawdown, which is not fun at all. Like I'm pretty sure almost this whole week was drawdown. But like my realized profit, I'm still up a few percent on the last week. But basically, as we go, or as I go through more of these runs, right, I'm going to continue to improve the system. I'm like, okay, take more profits here, take less profits there based off this, okay, we just went up 5 days straight. So from here, I'm just going to chill out. I'm going to sit on my hands and just let these things, move around, let them set up again. And then I'll, get more aggressive. And so, because the truth is, like, if a lot of stocks are breaking out and you have, 3, 4, 5 days of breakouts, odds are if stocks are not breaking out until like the 6th or the 7th day of the momentum, like they're probably not going to have much follow through At times they can, but typically it's not. They're not going to do much. And so that's kind of what happened. Is I was like, okay, I'm going to sit on my hands, and I did. Like the first day, I think I bought like one thing with small risk, and then the next day, a little bit. But then all these things, because also the stocks that we're in are pulling back, and then plus we're getting stopped out. So the combination of those things is unfortunate, but it's just part of the game. You continue to improve the system every single day and every single week, based off of reflecting on what you did and how you can improve that. So that's pretty much it for this video, I think. But yeah, I just wanted to show like some of the trades I've taken, some of the winners, some of the losers, and just show you guys like the realistic, the real part of trading and how it is. And like this one, this was unfortunate on, I think it was Monday this week. A lot of stocks pumped really good off open. Like I was up a lot at open. I was up like 4% on my account on Monday, and then everything just literally crapped. Like everything just crapped the bed. And so it's like we went from being up 5% on our accounts in one day to that same day I was down I was down like 4%. So it was like an 8% swing on my account, which is crazy. Like that type of stuff does not happen often. But there's nothing you can do about that, right? You can't predict that. And so you just have to understand that you have a system. And that's why risk management is so important. Like you need to be knowing when to risk, when to increase your risk. Like now the market made the move up and now it's resetting. And so now I'm like, okay, going into next week, it's going to be a time where I could go pretty heavy on risk. Like there's going to be, if there's setups and there's momentum, like, that's when you buy the breakouts again. Cause everything this week just kind of reset. But like this week, you don't want to go into this week like after last week being a huge week where you make a good amount of money, and then this week you're like, okay, things are working, I'm gonna go full 1% risk, 2% risk, because that's how you get screwed. Because most of the time, if it's the week after, those things probably aren't gonna have much momentum. You can see like pretty much my whole watch list was red. Like most of the market was red today. So you're gonna have red days. Like yeah, I'm down money today, but I've been working on paying attention to my realized profit, not my like open P&L, because stocks are going to go up, they're going to come down, they're going to move around, right? If you focus on how much you're up or down on the day, you just get stressed. But if you just look at, okay, this is how much I've secured, right? And then yeah, when you lose on a trade, yeah, your secured profit goes away, right? You lose some of the secured profit, but at least like, okay, this is what actually matters. Like this is actually how much I've actually made. But like for me, right? So like looking at that, it's like, okay, yeah, you're up 1,500, but like for Jobby here, I still have a huge like a pretty big position in here, right? So I haven't sold this whole position, and so my P&L isn't, like my realized profit isn't as high because I still have a lot of the position, right? And so that's kind of what I've been dealing with, is like, okay, focus on how much you've secured, and then if you secure a bunch of profit, that's when you celebrate, not when something's pumping, because it's not yours until you sell it, and you don't lose it till you sell it. So you can't get emotional in between. You just have to have a system and put the system in place. So I think that's it. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on the market, and then kind of a little, preview for next week. I gave you guys some stocks I was watching. But you could see like the indexes, it's kind of funky because the indexes, like they've been up this week, but momentum stocks have not been up. And so stuff like that happens, like where the market will move inverse to this. So like this is more so what my stocks trade like. It's ARK, which is like growth stocks. This is an ETF for growth stocks. So you can see this is more of like what my stocks have been doing. But you can see this is setting up perfectly. It pulled back. Now it's setting up on the 10-day moving average, and it looks like it's ready to break out again, right? So you can see here it made a huge move up, right? And went sideways, pulled back to the 10-day, and then it grinded higher from there, pulled back to the moving average, and then grinded higher from there. And so that's where we're at. So I expect next week to be a pretty solid week. But yeah, and we have earnings coming up, a lot of earnings plays. So like the next month or two should be pretty huge. It should be very promising. But I think that's all for this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you enjoyed like the stock style video. I know I don't do a lot of these because I don't think it's super entertaining for you guys. But anyways, that's kind of a recap on the last couple of weeks and what I'm looking for this week. And I expect these growth stocks to have some momentum going into next week. So we should have a big week next week. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.